Hello and welcome to another episode of the IAMKAYPEE podcast, and today I am joined by Mark. How are you?
Very good, thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
What would you say is your full name? Do you go by Marc-John or?
I love it. I love it most when people are able to just switch between the two as and when they please. Marc-John is my first name, but you can call me Marc-John or Mark, and I feel good when people are able to just go sometimes Mark if they feel like it, sometimes Marc-John if they feel like it.
I have like loads of nicknames, and depending on my social group, they'll call me that, and other people will be like, what are they talking about? Like my nickname for years was KP. That's why the show is IAMKAYPEE.
Right,
and yeah, like people that I've known all my life who call me that, then mix with my other group of friends, and they're like, what, you're a kitchen porter? Like, is that like
right, yeah, Mr. Kitchen Porter. That's funny.
So yeah, we first got introduced to each other through Laurie, because I was looking for somewhere to train some BJJ, and she put me in touch with you because she knows you've been training. When did you start?
Started BJJ beginning of November 2017, so just over a year ago. Yeah.
Is there any reason, or are we just?
What's the reason? So it's quite deep, man, and personal. I had this kind of lifelong thing where I, from a young age I wanted to compete in combat sports. Just as a kind of like, just as, I don't know, it was like, I trained 4 years as a boxer when I was like between 11 and 15. I trained so hard, and I got myself to the stage where my coach was just about to take me to Dublin to compete in the Four Nations competition over in Dublin, and I pulled out last minute because of fear and anxiety and whatever, and it's been this thing with me ever since then. Like
stuck with you.
Huh? It's stuck with me ever since I was 15. And I'm 29 now.
Right.
I was 29 when I first started BJJ, and it was just this thing that was in me, and it was kind of revived inside me through becoming attuned to the UFC.
Right.
And so, yeah, I started training BJJ for that, and then like. On my second class, I signed up to my first competition. Got absolutely spanked in my first competition. Like,
it's
really
a huge learning curve when you go to these places, but it's fun. Like, it makes you understand how you're going to feel in these situations when it's competitive. Yeah. Just rolling in the gym is great, but you don't have that added pressure of people are watching and I might win something at the end of this if I'm good.
Yes.
But yeah, like it's your first competition is always a mess.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even know how to behave, to be honest with you.
But you swearing and pointing the finger. And
no, that's not what I mean. I literally mean I didn't know how to carry myself.
Right.
Like I didn't know the dynamic of the event, so I turned up like when we're supposed to be getting ready to go into the mat, I'm supposed to be on one side of the mat, my opponent on the other. I like just rocked up shoulder to shoulder with my opponent, like
the ref's like pulling you across, like you're over here,
you're over there. Yeah.
Team photo.
But yeah, exactly. She's my boy. Good thing is that 2 weeks later, my second competition, I won a bronze medal. So
that's amazing.
Yeah, big.
Do you think you just adjusted from having that first competition out the way, and you're like, did you feel nervous for it? Your first one? It's not
first one. Yeah,
you don't have your first one often. So
yeah, and it was the second biggest promotion in the world that I competed in as well.
Which one is it?
UAE JJF.
Right.
Yeah. So, and I didn't realize how big it was.
When you're not that immersed in it, but you're just learning, you get obsessed with learning, but when you actually start to see like you're part of a huge organization, it's like that's when were you nervous for it?
Yeah, I was, but I was trying to tell myself that I wasn't nervous, and that didn't really work. I was kind of more nervous in my second competition, and in the first bout of my second competition, the ref kind of like split us up, because we were on the feet for so long, not really doing anything, and that was like in that moment of like being on the feet with this guy, just kind of holding onto his collar, and he's just kind of grabbing. as I was just kind of circling with him, I can't deny, man, I did get this big, massive rush of nerves through my body, and these voices in my head saying, "What if this is not even for me? Like, I just got spanked 2 weeks ago. Like, what, you know, what if I'm not meant to be here?" I guess, and I quickly managed to turn that around.
It's just funny that, because usually as soon as you're leading up to the fight, that's when you're nervous. But as soon as it's like on you go, then that, you know, you're not nervous anymore. At least that's what I've found in the past. But to sort of be doubting yourself as well when you're in the competition still, like against someone else, that's funny. Like I never felt like that. Because
it was very spacious, if you know what I mean. There was nothing much happening. It was just like I was just spinning around, grabbing his gi, he was grabbing mine, and there was nothing happening.
So you had that time to think. Yeah, I guess.
Exactly. But it very quickly became this wave of aggression through my, like I felt it transform inside my body. I was just like, and this conviction, I'm gonna beat you, man. You know.
The biggest thing I learned from my years of competing in BJJ and mostly no-gi is always, as soon as it always ultimately ends up with someone going for the takedown, and it's once you go to the ground, it's just breathe, because usually you hold your breath, and that's the big one, is just to breathe. It's the same with MMA, you know. And you get to that point, you can hear your corner being like, breathe, and you're like, oh shit, I've been holding my breath for the last 30 seconds to a minute. And you get all tense, and you can feel like the adrenaline setting in, and you start to feel all sort of like lactic acid for no reason, because you've not done anything.
Exactly. You've not done anything. Yeah. And that's, I mean, that's what lack of breath does to you. It does to your body. When you don't feed it with the oxygen it needs, it just you know, hardens up. Yeah. So yeah, good point.
And then have you ever thought about maybe continuing with boxing, since you done that?
I do. You know, I also did 7 years of capoeira.
Right.
So I have got decent kick, acrobatics from capoeira. I still maintain, I shadow box with myself, and I box with myself in the mirror. I know I've still got those abilities. I can still punch, I can still kick.
That's one of those martial arts, on the face of it, when you see it, you just like, oh, those guys are dancing. But when you understand the history of it, it's just, it makes sense that this was the only way that they could do martial arts in the form of dancing, because
it needed to be in some way, you know, disguised. They couldn't it was their tool for rebellion and freedom, essentially.
Did you enjoy it? You must have.
7 years, man. I enjoyed I saw you put a like on the anthropology post that I put out the other day.
Right. Yeah.
I enjoyed Brazil. I enjoyed capoeira because it taught me Brazilian Portuguese, because of all the cultural aspects as well. And of course, I love acrobatics. Like, I love being able to do crazy acrobatic shit with my body.
Yeah, because a lot of these people are athletic, highly athletic. You know, they could almost be in the circus at some point.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, I mean, I did have a little stint of doing circus type stuff when I was in South America. I hitchhiked.
Were you billed as the grizzly Scotsman?
No, man.
How did this all come about?
Well, because I went through. I had a huge significant spiritual awakening and epiphany when I was living in Argentina.
Right.
I planned to only live in Argentina for 6 months, but I ended up, I went through this huge spiritual awakening, decided I did not need money to keep traveling, and hitchhiked through Chile and Bolivia and into Peru.
Was it your intention to sort of have that experience before you went there, or did it happen when you went there?
No, it unfolded.
So can you kind of like
in the moment
preface how it came about and why?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I'll just finish telling you of my little stint in the kind of circus style environment. It's not exactly an environment; it was a street environment. So I was a street performer, and I would run out in front of the cars when they were stopped at the traffic lights, and I would do like hand hops and one-handed freezes and run around the windows, the car windows, and they'd drop. You know, I'd have a hat in my hand, and they'd drop coins into my hat. But yeah, that was only like kind of 20% of the time, maybe even yeah, probably about 20% of my time. The rest of the time I spent like making bracelets and necklaces and stuff like that. But yeah, how did I end up in that position, that situation? So, from the age of 11, I grew up with an Argentinian guy who caused curiosity in me to learn Spanish.
Just like a friend of the family or...
Friend of mine. Right. He thanks to the Argentinian crisis of 2001,
right.
His family were kind of essentially refugees from that crisis.
Wow.
Yeah, and I met him as I was kicking a football against a wall in my back garden in 2001.
Going down that old Scots route of kicking a ball against the wall.
That's it. Yeah. As long as it wasn't tires. This little tan boy approached me and he was just like, he didn't speak much English. Play. Like, okay, yeah, let's play, you know. And 6 months later, he was speaking absolutely perfect English in my accent and everything. He learned it very quickly. He was very young. He was only 10 years old. We became best friends. I grew up with him through my teenage years. By the age of 15, in my registration class at high school, I met a guy from Paraguay, and when that guy from Paraguay showed me on the map where his country is, I realized it shared a border with Argentina, and he speaks the same language as my best friend. So I was like, dude, I need to introduce you to. We made a little trio of best friends, and I learned by the age of 16, I was completely fluent in Spanish. Wow. And that made me want to go to South America. That's
highly unusual as a 16-year-old Scottish kid to be able to speak Spanish so fluently and have two, friends that are from South America.
Yeah, it is quite a unique thing.
But do you think if you hadn't had those influences, it would have been something that you would have still pursued to go to South America?
I cannot answer that. I have no idea.
So it had a massive effect on you.
It had a huge effect on me. Yeah, a massive effect. I mean, I can't really answer that question. Like, I felt myself. I don't know, because I felt myself in mid-teenage years, like going. I was very conscious, and I noticed that I was like beginning to think and act and feel and experience things differently from all my Scottish friends. My priorities were very different. My values began to become very different. And I was meeting up with people uptown at backpackers hostels and hanging out with these travelers, and they were telling me of their stories of world travels and stuff. So would that have happened if those two South Americans didn't open my mind to the international scene? I honestly don't know, man. I don't know. But yeah, all I can say is that I'm very happy that it did, because it's just blown my whole life wide open.
Right.
I've had I've traveled the world. I've been through the Far East, Southeast Asia, hitchhiked through Europe twice.
Wow.
Spent 2 years in South America. And yeah, just the doors that it's opened for me, And
the people that you've met along the way as well, I guess.
Yeah.
One of my friends, I've tried to have him on the show, but it's hard to sort of pin him down. Yeah, Roddy. He went around the world sort of barefoot and hitchhiked across Australia just barefoot, and ended up in a boat on some sort of volcanic island outside of beside Fiji, and I was like, how the hell, like, just from meeting all these amazing people that have helped them, when you're sort of just passing through and traveling, people are always their best selves towards you, I guess. I mean, I've felt that when I've done the bit of traveling I've done, but you always meet people and they're always the best form of themselves, and you always find that you get tremendous help.
Yeah,
and I guess that's what's happened to him.
Yeah. And it's I think it's something that it's just where true human value is able to come fully to the surface.
I think that's why I like that. I'm sorry to interrupt there, but I think that's why I enjoy traveling so much, is because just you meet people who are in that sort of, they're, just to say it again, but the best form of themselves is how they're presenting themselves. And I think that's why it's good to travel. I mean, some people just end up traveling forever because they don't want to see the bad in anyone, I guess. But eventually you do, you know, if you stay somewhere long enough. But that's just life.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
So you got to South America and you were working there. So how did you end up having this spiritual awakening?
When I had these spiritual, so I planned, it was, you know, I landed in Argentina July 2008, and I had this spiritual awakening between August 2008 and November 2008. I was still a bit of a wild boy, like I was 19 years old. Still a bit wild. But I met this woman who we could class as a white witch, however you wish to interpret that, but she could see just by looking into my eyes. This is what she told me. She could see, I think it was 6 lives past and 6 lives into the future. So she could see the timeline of my soul, essentially.
How did you meet someone like that?
Pure destiny, man. Right. Because of my interest in Argentina and in practicing Spanish with Argentinians and in becoming acquainted with Argentinian people, I found myself in this chat room in like the year 2006, probably. Yeah, 2006. Chatting to this girl who obviously our chats then transferred onto the old MSN Messenger.
Let's go back. That's old school.
So it was elchat.com. Met her there. Then we transferred to MSN Messenger. We're doing voice things, camera chats. We built this like quite strong bond actually online.
Yeah.
Like we got really close. And I ended up going and staying with her and her mum when I was in Buenos Aires in Argentina.
Wow. That's amazing.
And
my girlfriend's parents are there just now. They went
Argentina?
traveling. Yeah, they stayed in Buenos Aires and then went on a boat around the coast and sort of met penguins and
down the south.
Yeah,
cool.
And then they came back up and stayed before they flew off. But yeah, they love it.
Yeah, that's beautiful. It's beautiful. But yeah, so her mother she was one of 3 partners who had a travel agency. So she was one of 3 directors, essentially, in this travel agency. And they all worked together in this office. The 2 other directors were sisters. And one of those sisters was this woman. So I would just go like on a daily basis so that I wasn't just staying at home because I had essentially not much else to do at that time.
Or money, I guess. Maybe. Huh? Did you wouldn't have that much cash at that point?
I never really. I mean, I took about $3,000 of savings with me for the whole 6 months.
I don't know how that is. I mean, is that a lot for?
It's enough to last the 6 months. Right. Yeah, but I mean, I kind of blasted it after 4 months anyway because I was a little bit wild. But point being, in that office, I met one of the 3 directors, and she is the White Witch,
right?
And because of what she could see in me, we became quite close as well, because she was able to tap into all my feelings and my emotions, and she was giving me answers to things that had been troubling me for quite some time. You know, like, you don't feel like this about that person because of what happened when you were that age. You know, it's like far out
like
stuff.
A form of therapy, somewhat.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
Even if you didn't think you needed it at that point, but I guess everyone sort of needs to look back and sort of think that they're not. You know, you don't have to keep thinking about it and just let go of it.
You can, absolutely, 100%. And for somebody else to tap into that and see that, it's powerful. So that's how I met.
And what was the sort of moment like? Was it coupled with some sort of brew, or was it? Did you take something to have this awakening, or was it just that in itself?
So she I think it was over a certain period of time, maybe a couple of months. It wasn't like one day, boom.
Right.
because this was the first time in my life I tapped into the notion of us being reincarnations.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So she pointed me in the direction of American psychiatrist who pioneered in the Western world the treatment of past life regression.
Right.
So Brian Weiss, his name is. So I went away and I demolished that book. His first book, demolished it in like 2 days.
Okay.
And that's just what really, really opened me up. But you know, the most fascinating thing, and I know this is like, if what I've said so far hasn't been far out enough, like what I'm about to say is like extremely far out. But it's what she said to me. I have no attachment to what she said. I have no attachment to the story that she told me. And I don't overly identify with it, just for the sake of my own well-being, essentially. And for the sake of my family's well-being as well. But she told me that, some people may believe it, because today, like 9 years after marrying my wife, who is Peruvian, anywhere I go, even yesterday in the gym, I had a Venezuela jacket on, and a Venezuelan guy approached me, spoke to me in Spanish, "Are you from Venezuela?" And I was like, "No, man." And then I'd only said 3 words to him, and he cut me off, and he was like, "Oh, you're Argentinian." and I was like, No, I'm not. He's the Uruguayan then, because Argentinians and Uruguayans have like the same accent,
right?
And I still speak with a very strong Argentinian accent. So what she said to me is that in my most recent past life, which was extremely recent, because a soul, when reincarnating, takes in earthly years roughly 100 years to like recharge, when it goes up to the heavens, before it comes back down to inhabit a physical body. But my soul was very new and fully energized, so I died between 76 and 83, 1976 and 83, and in this life, the guy you're looking at right now, I was born in 1989, which makes the time of reincarnation very, very, very short. But what she said was that I was one of the disappeared, like young rebellious. You call them uno de los desaparecidos, one of the disappeared. Okay. Those who were politically, as a political strategy, removed from the face of the earth, essentially. Right.
Wow.
Lots of like en
from
masse.
Who was removing you?
The right-wing regime that was in place.
All right.
Then.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I won't go into Argentinian politics, please, because it is one of the most complex things on earth. So let's not go there.
Is this something that you believe, obviously, is reincarnation, because it is something you talk about, and is that? Well,
yeah, I'm a shamanic practitioner, man. So.
And that is the root of your sort of belief, I guess.
What do you mean?
That is the foundation of what you believe is that you've had these previous lives and will continue to have.
Yeah. I think I will continue to have these lives on Earth until I don't know, until when I don't feel the underlying notion is that I will stop incarnating on Earth when my soul is fully evolved. But since I am one with everything else, I think that I will stop incarnating when the Earth itself and all inhabitants upon it have stopped their karmic cycles, essentially, and have fully healed and fully reached full enlightenment.
Do you know the history behind it? Like where it first started cropping up, the idea of reincarnation?
Oh man.
Or has it always just been part of?
It's part of Hinduism, it's part of Buddhism, it's part of shamanism. I don't know if Jews believe in.
I think that's one of the big things that they don't believe in.
I don't know, man, to be honest. You know, like I'm a shamanist.
Right.
I actively practice shamanism.
Okay.
And shamanism believes in reincarnation.
So how did you get to that point, to becoming a shamanist?
Back to South America, man. So I obviously had this huge spiritual awakening in Argentina, and then I set about hitchhiking through Chile and Bolivia. In Bolivia, I like hitchhiking in Chile, like compared with hitchhiking in Bolivia, they're two completely different paradigms. Hitchhiking through Chile feels like hitchhiking through Germany.
Right. Makes sense.
High-tech, asphalt roads, fancy trucks, nice drivers, cool.
Occasional
modern
Germans.
Well, yes, absolutely, yeah. Yeah, funnily enough. Occasional Germans, yeah. Good point. But it all feels very modern and kind of, westernized. You cross the border into Bolivia and you rewind.
Okay.
Like you go back in time and everybody is like, I don't know what the actual percentage is. I would guess roughly around 85 to 90% of the population is still of the original genes.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
So they are
from South America. Yeah.
They are indigenous people, and so I found myself.
Is it Bolivia or is Bolivia and Colombia that was caught up in all the sort of drug scene as well at some point, different eras? But I think, is that correct? Narcos, is that
Bolivia, Peru, Colombia.
Yeah, I don't watch Narcos, so I don't know. But I think most people knows a little bit of history from that show, and I don't watch it.
Yeah, and they've learned some really nice Colombian slang as well. Triple hijo de puta.
I know that one, the puto.
Triple son of a bitch. Triple hijo de puta.
My favorite one's aquí, like here, I love that word
aquí.
For some reason. I don't know. Yeah, it's just, it sticks with me because I've picked up little words here and there from traveling around, and I was in St. Anton in Austria for 6 months in the ski season, so I just met loads of people from different countries there, and just thought these little words that you just you could probably speak a whole sentence in different languages but never be able to speak those a whole sentence in each of those languages. And aquí is my favorite one from Spanish. Aquí.
There you go. Aquí.
I always say aquí, like where's my when I ask where my keys are to my girlfriend, I'm like aquí. Here, aquí.
There you go. So add in to that one ahora. You've got a nice little thing. You got
aquí, ahora.
Aquí, ahora.
Ahora.
It means here.
Aquí.
Here and now.
Ahora, aquí.
But yeah, the whole shamanic thing, I would say that that's where the root was planted, man, was when I was 8, because I was having to, man, it was crazy. I was having to bribe my way into traveling in the back of trucks.
Right.
Of trucks.
This is what I was going to ask. Did you encounter any sort of like grievances when you're there, or were people sort of hostile to you in any way?
Yeah, multiple times.
And where was it mostly? Is it sort of in mostly Bolivia or Argentina, or was it just across the board? Like you're going to find bad people regardless.
Absolutely, yeah. So I was held at knife point in Argentina, and the absolute muppets, they were digging through I had a bum bag across my chest.
Old school.
Yeah.
It's a fanny pack for anyone that's listening across the sea.
Right, okay, a fanny pack.
We're bum bags here.
Yeah. So they literally they held me at knife point, and they like searched through that, and it had my passport, it had my camera and everything. Yeah. And they didn't take anything, man. Like they were literally looking for just drugs. They just wanted drugs. And I was thinking to myself, like, if you saw, like if I was you and I saw somebody's camera and somebody's British passport, like I've got them at knife points.
Yeah.
I would probably take it. But
maybe they've had their fill. Maybe they've raided so many bags that day that they had all the cameras and phones and passports they needed at that point.
Maybe. I don't know.
And they're just looking to get drugs.
Good philosophy. Good philosophy. I don't know. But anyway, I was unhurt. I ended up I wouldn't say I made friends with them, but I at least kind of made peace with them, and I wrote a pretend number on one of their hands because I said that I was going to go to Buenos Aires and come back with drugs.
So you were saying that you became sort of friendly with the...
Yeah, I mean, friendly, no, I just made peace with them, and my way of de-escalating things was to essentially tell them that I could bring them drugs in 2 weeks' time, because I was going to Buenos Aires and I would come back with drugs.
You didn't, obviously.
Of course I did. And the number, I said, let me write my phone number on your hand. So I had a pen and I wrote my number on his hand, but it was a fake number.
It was like 1, 2, 3, fake street.
Yeah, exactly. And they were quite happy at that, and off they went. Like, after seeing my camera, seeing my passport, you know, they just off they went. Quite content that I was going to bring them drugs back in 2 weeks' time.
So you go sort of hitchhiking through there, and you manage to avoid getting stabbed and whatever. So, like, where did you go from there?
Yeah, I mean, I got into Peru through Chile and Bolivia, and 5 days after reaching Peru, I met somebody special, and
the rest is history.
3 months later, I was married on my 20th birthday.
Wow.
Married, and that was 10, it'll be 10 years ago this coming March, so.
Must have been drawn to Peru, it seems like, just for this, to get married. It seems like you just...
Destiny.
As everything's pushing you towards Peru.
Yeah, and now we're moving back. Like, literally, we will land in Peru a decade after we first met. Like, almost exactly, almost to the day, a decade after we met.
So how did you end up leaving South America? Did you come straight back here?
So I'm married at the age of 20, and it's a very interesting question to ask me, because I'm at this very interesting point of making huge, significant changes in my life to go back to there. But it was mainly for my wife. Right. It was for my wife to, you know, experience life over here, get her passport. That's all been done and dusted, and she's had her time over here, and we're at a point where right now, on this date, 23rd of November 2018, at the time of recording, we are at a huge, you know, just a time of huge change. We've just finished.
Is it something that you always plan to do, or is it
go back?
Current situations, like political climate, is that sort of pushing you as well? You know, with the whole Brexit stuff, I imagine that must be something that's in the back of your mind. A little bit, yeah. I not like probably 10 to 20% of my headspace is occupied by that, so not much. We were considering Australia, right? Because we've got a huge tribe over in Australia that a lot of them we've not even met in person yet. We've done plenty of, you know, video conference calls and whatever. But I don't know. Yeah, you know, when we first came out of South America, it was definitely on the cards to go back. It's just that we got lost a bit, man. We just got lost in life a little bit and kind of forgot that actually that's what we wanted to do, was go back to South America. Do you feel at home there, or? Yeah, 100%, man. 150%. I don't really feel at home here in Scotland. Yeah. And it's nothing against this country or anything in it. It's just the way I feel. Come on, you can say it's terrible. Huh? You can say it's terrible. It's you know, I mean, I enjoy going out throughout the whole winter and swimming in the North Sea. You know, that's something that I do. It's nothing to do with the weather or whatever. I just feel that culturally, bit behind. Kind of, you know, we've got a lot of cultural wounds that need to be healed, and that was part of my reason for voting yes in our referendum. You know, everybody's running around going 40,000, 50,000 barrels of oil left in the North Sea and all this shite. Yeah. And I was like, let's not even think about those things. Let's not even feed the argument of politics. Let's go a little bit deeper and think about what is on a psyche level. Like, and I was just having this conversation yesterday, like, anybody from Scotland tuning in will be very familiar with the phrases,
oh, check you out. You're way more brainy than me. Oh, he's the brainy one in the family. Oh, you've got a degree in, check you brain box. All of these things, I believe, are cultural wounds that have been kind of inflicted upon us, not pointing the blame towards the English, but just because of what happened.
Yeah.
The wounds were caused in us culturally from there. So we have this thing of...
So how would you say they manifest then? Like, what is...
Small man syndrome, you know?
Okay.
Like playing life small.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I mean, we have got people that are doing pretty amazing things in the world, yeah? But
Scotland seems like a sort of... It's like its own dichotomy. Like, at one side, it is progressive and a lot of smart people come from Scotland. A lot of great ideas, and engineers and scientists come from Scotland. And then on the flip side, we have this like Stockholm syndrome to England. Just the football tribal aspect of it as well is very sort of, not that that's a bad word sometimes, but in this instance,
modern day tribalism, yeah.
And it's that aspect that sort of just kind of leads us to trail our heels all the time when it comes to being, we could be a better country, you know. We have it in us to be this better country, but we just are dragging our heels.
Yes, and that's a cultural thing.
Yeah,
you know? Like it's not
it's that working class mentality as well. You know, that stops a lot of this thinking that you could go on and do better things.
Yep, exactly.
You know, this is your lot in life. A lot of people think that way. Like, this is just as far as I want to go, and I'll just, you know, some people are happy to do that, and that's great.
Yeah.
But it shouldn't be the whole mindset of everyone in Scotland.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I totally agree, man. I totally agree. Yeah, I have so many people, kind of the faces of so many people popping into my head as you speak, you know, the whole working class thing. And there's something, I think there is I also noticed that you interacted with a post that I put out yesterday saying, I don't care about your titles and your accolades. What I care about is how much joy is in your heart, peace is in your mind, and freedom is in your speech.
Yeah.
Freedom in your speech, which also equals freedom in your emotions, because if you're emotionally free, then your speech is also going to be free.
Yeah.
And you'll have no qualms expressing yourself in all of your emotional states. And I think that I really feel that partly, like, that's part of our battle, is that we're rigid and find it difficult to express ourselves, find it difficult to work with, and especially us men, man.
Yeah.
We find it difficult to deal with our emotions. We find it difficult to conceptualize them and, you know, express them. And that's a huge thing for me, man. You know, with my shamanic work.
Do you come up against it sometimes? I mean, the type of stuff that you're doing with being a shaman and being in Scotland, you know, that seems like things that just are hard to coexist. Do you come up against anything like that? I myself have you know, I'm not the perfect article, man. I'm not the healed, you know, I'm not the fully empowered every second of the day guy. Like, you know, I go through my own limitations, you know. I don't want to call them blockages or whatever, but I have my own limitations, you know, in human interaction, in, you know, how I show up in the world sometimes. But I'm very conscious of my limitations, and I seek to better them all the time, and I really put myself out there to do that. So, but yeah, I do, you know, in like, otherwise I come up against it all the time. I just see, and it touches me, man. You know, like, young men of my generation in Scotland who they're just having trouble, like, making sense of life, having trouble, like, getting a grip of things, getting a grip of themselves. And I suppose that's kind of what is
pushing me towards. I'm currently at brainstorming stage again. Currently, 23rd of November, 2018. At the time of recording, I'm at the brainstorming stage for some kind of an 8-week program for young men to participate in, where we will go through different initiations, sweat lodges. I don't know if you've seen I put a sweat lodge. So I do.
For like the layman, but what does a sweat lodge involve? You know, how would you describe it?
So it's synonymous of rebirth, and it is seen as the womb of the mother, essentially. It is a shelter into which you go with a group of people. You sit around a hole in the ground in a circle. So the shelter is circular. It's like a kind of igloo kind of thing. In the middle of that little igloo-shaped thing, you have a hole, and everybody sits in a circle around that hole, and there will be a big fire outside with big boulders, stones, kind of heating up for about 3 hours on that fire. The firekeeper will bring hot stones from the fire, put them into the hole in the middle of the lodge, and the lodge facilitator pours water onto the stones, and it is a way of ceremoniously releasing all that which does not serve you,
right,
and inviting in and making, affirmations and declarations of things that you're inviting in and experiences that you want to create in your life.
Is that a form of bonding as well?
A form of
bonding?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You come out of those things feeling so much more connected with the people because you've witnessed them in the most vulnerable states, and this is what the
similar to BJJ, where you're going to death with someone, the whole time, and you've experienced this together, and you know that at each moment either one of you could have maybe taken it one step if they wanted to. Not that they would, because it's a controlled, safe environment, but that's how you bond over things that are hard.
Absolutely. 100%. Nail on the head.
This was something I was talking about with a friend yesterday, actually, and he was saying that I think he thinks that men need more violence in their life, and that's how we all should bond. Just things like MMA and doing boxing and having a club that you go to, and the camaraderie, and it's something that's missing from modern society because it's seen as toxic. So when you do something like that, that's how men talk. That's how they rib on each other. That's how, and it seems like society's just isolating every single man from each other. And that's how you're getting these sort of severe cases of mental health and suicide, is because men are just trying to be made not so toxic and separated so they can't come together, because it's dangerous. We know what happens when men come together with bad ideas, but it doesn't always have to be like that. No, we and this is like what I was saying about coming to grips with our emotions and finding ways of expressing them, like in the dojo or in the octagon or whatever. That's a way of, at least some way of expressing ourselves, It's funny that you as someone who's a shaman, that you're still drawn to that side of your life as well, to participate in something that you're testing your body against another body, boxing, and then eventually BJJ.
But it's primal. It is primal. It is part of our nature, like
balance as well, I guess.
100%. We were made to wrestle each other. Really. I truly believe that it is a controlled, fertile environment for transformation and growth. They feel sort of very ancient, even when you watch wrestling. That looks ancient. I remember I was watching Khabib when he was wrestling that bear, and he was only how old? I think like 10, maybe
8 or 7.
Yeah.
The bear was amazing at it. Like, it just had natural movements.
Absolutely.
But there's only so many ways you can move,
Yeah.
and wrestling is an expression of that.
Yep.
And the bear was just doing what is natural to it. And the bear was sprawling and going for single legs.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is insane, but it just makes sense that it would do that because it's a bear and it's innate to move like that. Yeah. And that's the same with humans.
Yep, 100%.
But if we're kept from expressing that, that's when it becomes unhealthy, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, exactly. And it builds up, and then it expresses itself in other ways, such as, rape, robbery, like silly, drunken violence.
In the same way that men need that balance, do you think women need balance like that?
Well, there are some women who have a lot more inclination.
And I'm generalizing, sorry.
Yeah, no.
But do you think they need that sort of the out of physical, the combat? Do they need that as much as men?
So if we were to generalize, man, I'd say probably not.
Right.
Like, I think more men than women need that archetypal root, primal exploration and expression that is wrestling or, like hand-to-hand combat. But women, there probably aren't as many of them. Not for any other reason, just apart from biology and nature. It's not
societal, would you think sometimes? Is that something that you see?
So do I think that women
are less inclined to do something like those kind of sports because society sort of is not geared towards them expressing themselves like that?
Hey, possibly. I mean, your environment also, science says that your environment has an effect on your genes. So maybe we've engineered that reality and changed the genes. That's...
Sorry, we're getting quite deep into that one.
Yeah, man, I know. But it's fascinating, isn't it? So, maybe.
So, how did you get to traveling, coming back here to becoming like what you're doing on Facebook just now? You're always posting these things that are awesome, and it's part of your you were calling it like your tribes, is that right? Have you got something geared, like a business or something geared towards doing that, or like what is it? Because I fully don't understand it when I see you going on Facebook and posting great things.
Cool.
Or is it just you being a shaman and having sort of connecting with people? Is that what it is?
That I'm. It's cool that you're asking me that question. Because that is me just being me.
Right.
In the truest essence of it, man, I'm not joking you. That is me just being me.
Yeah. Because like most people can sniff at that type of thing when someone's being completely false, and it doesn't feel like that with you. You're posting genuine things, and that's why I wanted to speak to you, because I know it would come from a good place. So how did you get to that point?
I have this like innate thing that I want to help people to see what is possible in life. So if I as a man am able to go deep and pull up what is in the depths of my being and express it outwardly, then in a way it also gives other men permission to do the same. And I think that is medicine in itself, that's part of it, but also I do have business pursuits. I'm building a network marketing business with Isagenix, but I promise you, man, there's no solid strategy, social media strategy behind my building with Isagenix. I have ideas, I have like structures in mind, and my ideal way of recruiting and whatever with it,
like an ethos type thing for how you do it.
Yeah, and that is my ethos. My ethos is that I do not want to attract or work with anybody that is not in complete resonance with me. And in order to find the people who are genuinely in complete resonance with me, I cannot be anything but myself. So, I'm building the Isagenix side of things. That happened because I became friends with the company owner's wife, Peter Kelly.
What is Isagenix? I don't know.
So Isagenix is what is Isagenix? My goodness, that's a massive question.
Come on, if you're going to be working with it, you got to sell me this.
So it is a company that is about 16 years old. It's worth $6 billion. Well, it's done $6 billion so far in accumulative sales over those 16 years. Sorry if you got a bit of interference on the mic there. I'm getting too animated with my hand movements. It's a network marketing company primarily based, up until now it has been based primarily on a system for nutritional cleansing.
Right.
Some other people like to call it supplements.
Right.
So supplemented eating. It is a system for nutritional cleansing which people use to shed weight, gain muscle, improve energy and performance.
Would they do it in conjunction with, say, any sort of form of shamanic practices, or is it just
I do.
Okay.
I do.
But I mean, like the general people that are consuming it, is it just supplementation in itself, or is there sort of like a whole shamanic vibe behind it as well?
There is a growing pocket of people, me included, who are more and more kind of shamanic, conscious oriented. Probably because of Peter Kelly herself, who is the wife of the company owner, and she has just metamorphosed into this hugely awakened, conscious woman doing amazing things in the world. So probably because of that, yes, there are more and more people that are like me coming into the business, but also the business itself is also transforming. So or not just transforming, but growing and expanding. So it has been this like fitness industry focused thing for the past 16 years, with a good amount of often unspoken of kind of spiritual ethos behind it. Like they've got a huge crystal in their headquarters in Arizona. Some of the ingredients that have been sourced from like sacred sites in the world and stuff. Not many people speak about that. Not many of the like fitness oriented people, like the Instagram
models.
Yeah, exactly. Fitspo,
quote unquote models.
Yeah, self-made models. But now it is transforming, and they've just brought on a line of essential oils for well-being at home through aromatherapy. And as we move into 2019, they're going to be expanding even more and bringing on products such as cacao.
Right.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts when you see celebrities doing these types of things, and sort of who was it with the vaginal egg thing,
the yoni egg.
Yeah, it was like the famous actress. She was in Iron Man 3. People are probably going to be screaming her name at this.
It's not Gwyneth Paltrow.
Yeah.
Is it really?
Gwyneth Paltrow. I think so. She had this egg that, was supposed to heal you from the inside, and it had all these like made from these things. What's your thoughts when you see someone clearly who doesn't have an understanding of what they're trying to sell? Snake oil, essentially. Like it's a version, it's the fake version of what you and other people are sort of trying to promote, in a better way. Yes. And real stuff, compared to her just being like, well, I know I can sell, if I put my name on this, I know I could sell 1 billion of these.
That's a dangerous dark hole down which many people choose to go.
Because there's a lot of Westerners now going over to do ayahuasca with these fake shamans in the jungles, and that's only going to become more prevalent as more people become shamanistic or more paganistic. Is that something you sort of fear or embrace?
that's the darkness that comes with the light. So the light is all the miraculous healing that's going on, and the more and more people becoming awakened to the magic of shamanism and plant medicines. That's the light. The dark side of it is, what you just said, and I accept it.
Yeah.
I accept it. I do not necessarily agree with it, and it will never be for me. But I accept it, and I recognize that I would really encourage people to, before they go out seeking their ayahuasca trip or whatever you want to call it, first become attuned to your intuition and use your intuition to be able to tell whether this shaman and this brew of medicine is for you or not. Yeah.
Do your research.
Do your research as well. Of course, yeah. On a logical level, do your research. But when I say tap into your intuition, I just mean can you sense?
There's a lot of people that don't have that intuition though, and that's the type of people that get fleeced.
Correct. But I think it's almost our duty now to, not just our duty, but it's like, it is a huge contributor to our well-being to be able to be tapped into that intuitive side of ourselves.
Have you done ayahuasca?
Oh, lots.
Yeah.
I've started drinking ayahuasca in 2011. In 2012, I took it for 7 months non-stop, 1 weekend a month.
7 months?
And then I had a 1 month break, and then I did another month.
Well, that's got to have some effect on you.
Yeah. I mean, I've drunk a lot, but I had a lot of healing to do. I come from Broomhouse in the west of Edinburgh, a family, riddled with social and mental issues.
You felt like you had to, or you just did.
It's just where life took me, I suppose. Yeah.
And you've done DMT. Is that something that you do by itself? Because that's like the one of the components.
Yeah, absolutely it is. I've never done it on its own. What have I done? Oh God, I've done.
I feel like the ayahuasca. I'd love to do the ayahuasca before I went on to do DMT myself, because I feel like it's important to go through that ritual of it all and sort of just pay your dues a little bit by taking it. But the DMT one is just that's. I mean, some of the stories you hear about that is insane. Yeah,
but I mean,
in the good way, obviously, not just people coming back a different person, but just in good ways.
Yeah. I would say though, on the whole ritual front, like ritualize everything. I mean, even me and my wife sometimes, like if we want to go really deep with each other, like we will, and this happens maybe twice a year. Well, this year it hasn't happened even once yet, and we're almost at the end of the year. But like we'll just decide that we want to buy a bag of weed, right, and but we ritualize it because we're both shamanists, so we recognize plant consciousness, and that marijuana is a healing plant. It's not just something to sit back and get baked on and forget about your life, forget about reality. Like we work with the plant. So
a little bit of that is very much lost. You probably see that more, but a lot of people sort of just use, especially weed, as something to forget as opposed to help heal.
Yeah, absolutely. That's
so
right.
You ritualize it.
Ritualize it, 100%. And we have the best sex ever.
Yeah, you got to say that though, because she's probably listening. Maybe at some point.
No, it's like it's all deep, juicy, beautiful stuff, man. And the conversations we have as well. Like sometimes when we're talking, one of us will just start to get like downloads, like just start to understand things, and then we'll just be like, look, stop talking, let me just have some silence, because I'm receiving information.
Right. So it's like that idea that we're all antenna for receiving information from the universe. Is that something that you're describing?
Oh, yeah, 100%, man.
Right.
And we don't need weed to access it either. Like, I mean, Jesus, I was in the sauna last night down at the David Lloyd, and obviously I've been on the shamanic path for 10 years, and I'm like very tuned into my intuition.
Right.
And I'm reflecting on, I was reflecting on issues of sexuality and like expression of sexuality and desire and lust and urges that I have with other women, not my wife. And I know my wife will listen to it, and it's absolutely fine. We have these conversations at home, so it's all good. So I was like,
those are important conversations to have as well with your partner.
Absolutely.
You know, you have to put those like. This is where I think I saw an article by Vice, one of my most hated news publications.
Okay.
But they published, I think it was something like a scientist, someone else all came up with what they thought scientifically was cheating. Like they had parameters and whatever. But to me, it's as easy as it's whatever you as a couple put on it. Like you could be more sort of liberal than other couples, you know, and what you consider cheating is completely different from someone who is just like a normal like working 9 to 5 every day and going out at the weekend to get smashed type couple, you know. Those are different, but it's still to you cheating if you cross that line.
Yes, it's all about the contracts, man. But again, the contracts are made through verbal communication.
Yeah.
If there's no verbal communication and people are just left to like expect things, then
exactly. And those things don't meet. That's when you start to get like that bumping heads with someone, when those expectations don't meet.
Correct. Which is partly why me and my wife set rituals to sit down and just really go deep with each other, and we do it all the time. But what popped up for me last night in the sauna was, and this is what happens being on the shamanic path, I'm always accompanied by, call it what you want. It might seem too woo woo for some people, but in the world of shamanism, it would be classed as animal spirits, and I get visions of animals, right? So last night I'm like reflecting on sexuality and my urges, that kind of almost biological thing of wanting to have multiple wives. That's what I was reflecting on.
Should be a Mormon. That seems like it's better for you.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah, absolutely. No, in the sauna, that's just kind of the energies that I was tuning into. Then boom, the rooster came into my line of vision, and I was like, just like, okay, well, you know, just like fell into, because part of shamanic practices is when these animals come, you journey with them. So I journeyed with the rooster for a little bit.
And this is in the sauna? In
the sauna.
And David...
I've been a shamanic journey in a sauna. Like traveling through the cosmos with a fucking rooster.
Are you just in it by yourself? Or is and there's people in there, I guess?
No, I was alone.
That's amazing.
I could still do it if there were still people in there, as long as they weren't.
Just saying to other people, shh, I'm a fucking rooster.
Yes, exactly. And I'm exploring my regality right here, my regalness.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, so.
And what is it you're doing with the website that you've been working on? Have you become sort of, I saw one of the people that are looking over the website, is it like Robert Gray or something, the guy that draws the DMT paintings? Oh,
of course.
I can't remember.
Touch upon that.
Yeah. I can't remember his name specifically.
So my own website is marc-johnbrown.com, but I am working, my job, one of them anyway, is as the editor of entheonation.com.
Right, okay.
And entheonation.com is a publication that focuses on topics of modern shamanism, psychedelic science, and progressive approaches to health.
Okay.
And of course, sexuality is also one of those. But all sorts of psychedelic stuff as well. Just general.
Seems like there's a great people that are on board with it. Great number.
Yeah, we've got a Sacred Business Summit coming up on the December 10th to December 14th. Main speaker, one of the main. So we've got, I think, 3 featured speakers, and well, the one that is like top for me is Stephen Dinan from the Shift Network.
Right. Okay.
You know it?
No, I'm not. Yeah. I'm not aware of it.
Yeah, it's a big kind of spiritual publication. So yeah, it's exciting, man.
Well, I think that's probably just about time, because I I have to go and do the dinner date thing tonight. But thank you for coming on, man. It's people who haven't been on before, I generally finish with some questions, like just sort of the first question always been like, what your favourite movie?
My favourite movie?
Or one you've seen recently that is your favourite?
My favourite of all time that I could watch time and time and time again. Diario de Motocicleta.
Oh, totally, yeah.
Motorcycle
okay, all right, okay. It's good. I've not seen that. I've not seen it.
Okay.
Who's in that one again? Is it?
It is the story of the early days, of the early formational days of Che Guevara.
Okay. And he's going around on the motorcycle. Is there two of them, I think?
Yes, with, God, I've forgotten his name.
I'm aware of it. Benicio del Toro, is he in that?
Benicio del Toro, I think.
He's not in that movie.
Was he? I don't know. It's Gael Garcia Bernal, who's a big thing, a big hit in Mexico. And then the other one is, I can't remember his name. But anyway.
Do you like City of God? That's one of my...
Ciudad de Dios.
It's a brilliant movie.
Love it, yeah.
Lil Z, you know, he's amazing, that guy that played him. And it's all people from the favelas that played these kids.
I think, it's a good thing, you know, culturally.
I think that's why it makes it a timeless movie now. Well, not because it's starting to show its age in terms of the clothes, obviously, but like timeless in the story. You know, the struggle to get to the top.
Yeah, absolutely.
Favorite music album or that you've been listening to?
Specifically, my favorite genre is world music.
Okay.
You know, you'll find me listening to Tumani Diabate on the kora, which is the West African harp. I love tuning into djembe music from Africa. On the next day, I might be listening to Mongolian throat singers.
Wow.
But also probably the one that is, you said that word timeless.
Yeah.
The one that's timeless for me and will literally go to my deathbed with me, or will live beyond that, of course, is Dr. Dre 2001.
It's a classic album.
Absolute classic, and I carry it everywhere I go with me. And I don't really feel any qualms about the dirtiness or griminess just because of the quality of the memories that it brings me.
That era is just like amazing. There's, I think, was it Snoop Dogg's first album's turned 25 years today, which is insane.
Yeah, madness.
And I've also, hopefully, fingers crossed, got a lady coming on who was a pen pal with a not Dr. Dre, Tupac, and was part of Death Row Records. Like, she was an intern there, so she wrote a book on it, and we've been going back and forward, so she's coming on, hopefully.
Cool. Will you get her into here?
Yeah, she's going to come here,
Cool.
So she works, because she goes in between Dundee and Edinburgh, down in England, so she'll catch up here in between, so we're just sorting out the details, but it's going to be amazing.
Cool. Yeah, that's really cool.
Anyway, on to my second last question. Favorite book?
I can't really give a clear answer to that, man, but one that I recently read that had a profound effect on me and actually lightened my life quite a lot was Ikigai, by Hector Garcia.
Okay.
Ikigai is the IKIGAI. If you look for hashtag Ikigai on Instagram, you'll find a whole lot of posts, but it essentially is the old Japanese word for purpose.
Okay.
Life purpose.
Wow.
And that book teaches you how to just live simply. And oh my goodness, it's like such a breath of fresh air. Like, just live simply.
And that is called... What's the name of it? Sorry, again?
Ikigai.
Okay, I'll have a look on
Yeah,
Twitter.
do so.
And my last question, which is always a good one, always turns up some good things, is your favorite quote.
Oh, my favorite quote.
It can be a Dr. Dre one if you want.
No. There's one that's coming up for me that I know is not my favorite one, but I'm just gonna honor it. I'm just gonna honor it. So, because it's here, it goes calavera no chilla.
Okay. Which is
essentially means the translation is how would you translate it? You would translate it as like like you can't have your pie and eat it as well, or something like that. Yeah. From Argentina.
Right.
Calavera nochilla.
Well, there it is, Mark. It's been great. It's been a good chat. Honestly, man, you can come on anytime. And to everyone that's listening, I will see you next week. Ciao.